Here is a comparison between the 2025 Toyota Camry SE and the 2025 Lexus ES350 F Sport handling package. This year, we get an all-new refresh for the Camry in its 5th gen, only in a hybrid powertrain where when you go into the ES, you can get a hybrid, you can get a V6 and a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter inline 4-cylinder. Which one's going to be better? I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and we're gonna start off with the refresh on the Camry with LED headlights and daytime runnings that integrate into the top portion of the grille. The lower is going to have the matte black, and the gloss black will be on the XSE, as well as adding this accent light, which is a part of the package when you go into the SE. The XSE will get that standard, and the splitter that comes into play with the sport tuned suspension when you go into the SE or the XSE. Going into the Lexus for the F Sport, that's going to change the suspension being F Sport tuned, as well as getting adaptive variable suspension. The front will have bi-LED headlights, and a triple beam LED headlight and daytime running configuration can be optioned with the signature L that goes into the enlarged grille gloss black elements, because this is the F Sport, so it's going to look a little bit more dynamic, as well as the lower blade with front parking sensors standard, and a 360-degree reverse camera is an option which we have. Now you can option that on the Toyota as well, but you have to go up the tier in order to get that. Underneath the hood is what changes the configuration, because for Toyota, it's a 2.5 liter inline 4-cylinder hybrid producing a combined of 225 horsepower paired to the eCVT transmission. Going into Lexus, you can option a 2.5 liter inline 4-cylinder, but we have the V6 that produces 302 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, 0 to 60 under 6.5 seconds. You're achieving 47 to 48 mpg. Standard wheel is going to be a 17-inch for the ES. 18-inch goes up the tier. 19-inch is going to be found on the F Sport handling and design, which also gives it the badging and the aesthetics to make it look a lot more dramatic. You're still receiving the chrome that's going to surround the ultra white with a touch of the gloss black on the side view mirror, and when you power fold these mirrors, which is an option, it will make an L, so it has a cool design pattern to it, as well as a standard moonroof with an option for a pano moonroof. Whereas the Camry 18-inch wheels comes on the SE. These are 19-inch upgraded wheels, which I would recommend it. I've driven a few of these vehicles with it. It doesn't change the ride too much from 18 to 19. 17 inches on the LE, and you're going to get the matte black surrounding the window trims. But you do have to option things like a moonroof or a pano moonroof, depending on the trim that you're in, which for 2025, Toyota has made it where each tier you can option a convenience package, and you can add different technology as well to make the vehicle a little bit more elaborate. But once you start ticking the box to these prices, maybe it's better to look at the Lexus, both with standard LED tail lights and a trunk lid spoiler to make it look a little bit more aggressive. But when you go into the Camry, you're going to have the dual exhaust finishers, and you can also get that on the XSE. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit more settled with standard reverse camera and parking sensors on both vehicles. Quick release going into 15.1 cubic feet. You get bag holders on both sides. Underneath the floor gets a spare tire, and it's going to be a little bit more cargo capacity than the Lexus. Plus, you can fold down these seats, which will increase the cargo a lot more so than the ES. The ES350 gets a standard power lift gate with an option for kick to open, going into 15.9 cubic feet, bag holders on both sides. Underneath the floor will receive a spare tire, but you cannot fold down the rear bench. It's only a pass-through. The Lexus ES350 F Sport handling headroom is good, as well as legroom. Both vehicles get the sport pedals. This one's not going to be as driver focused, but you can still see the screen is tilted. Let's start her up. 8-inch infotainment is going to be standard. This is the 12.3, which is an upgrade. Wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming, Bluetooth audio, as well as an analog clock. Put it into reverse, we have the package for the 360-degree reverse camera, full trajectory for the front and the rear, and you can change different camera layouts to make it a little bit more easy for you. With dual climate control settings, that's standard. Heated ventilated front seats is part of the F Sport package, which also gives you this new look in sport bolstering, F-Sport badging, 10-way power seat adjustment, 2 USB ports here, a little storage tray here. You get the contrast stitch there. Wireless charging pad is also part of that package, and the key fob for the Lexus ES350 F-Sport handling. Auto-dimming rear view mirror with a moonroof and an upgraded headliner, as well as Mark Livingston that has 1800 watts. This aluminum inlays is going to make it look a lot more sporty with ambient lighting, and you got the driver mode select on top of the gauge cluster, so you have Sport S, Sport S Plus, Normal, and you can also go into the gauge cluster for your custom settings here, which you can make it more sport derived there, with a perforated leather wrap heated steering wheel, part of the F-Sport package, multi-function paddle shifts. Now, just like how sporty it feels in the cockpit opposed to the Toyota, and this is going to be a his and her, so it opens up one way with 2 USB and a 12 volt, and opens up for the passenger as well, soft to touch. The door panel, dashboard configuring together, and I do like the speaker mesh. I wish it was aluminum instead of plastic, and you're going to have soft materials everywhere, unlike the Toyota. One touch up and down for all the windows that are acoustic, with a medium-sized storage pocket and a little change holder here for the driver. Whereas on the Camry, headroom is going to be a little bit better, as well as leg space, driver focus setup. You have the cloth inserts with the pattern design and an 8-inch standard infotainment screen, as well as a digital reader. This trim, you can option the 12.3 infotainment screen. Otherwise, standard is this 8-inch, even when you go into the LE. Wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, Sirius XM AM, FM streaming, Bluetooth audio with 6 speakers standard, 9-speaker JBL, sound system XLE and XSE. Putting into reverse, the trajectory expands out. Click here and you can change it so it has kind of that fisheye effect. Dual climate control settings is standard, and that's the number one thing that I like about the Camry. You're going to get a lot of standard amenities, like the wireless charging pad as well, push button start, a total of 5 USB ports, and check out the key fob for the new Camry. Leather steering wheel heated is an option, and it comes standard on the XLE. It's multi-function with the paddle shifts. The gauge cluster is a 7-inch TFT display that can go through an array of information in different settings. So you can go through Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, which is all new for this year, and you can see different messages, and you can option a 12.3 digital gauge reader on this trim. Heads-up display is an option on the XLE and XSE. Auto-dimming rear view mirror, which we have, as well as an optional moonroof for the LE and SE. We do not have that option. When you go into the XLE and XSE, you can have an option panel moonroof. Going back, you have your driver mode select. So Eco, Normal, and Sport. It's going to be a little bit more sporty. Opens up into a long storage pocket with a 12 volt. Door panel dash configuring together. The cloth comes into play. It's going to be a little bit more sporty with a medium-sized storage pocket. For the back seats, headroom, not an issue, nor is leg room. Storage behind both of the front seats. USBs and 12 volt, you have them, as well as air vents with cup holders and a large armrest. The problem that I have with these two variants is you still have to option features on both of them, in which for Toyota this year, for the 5th gen, they go up tier base in order to get features as well. But you still have to option features. You can't get it fully loaded onto the top tier. Door panel is going to have the same materials in the front that's found in the back. That's not going to happen with Toyota, which you'll see in a second, with a longer storage pocket than both Toyota and the front of the Lexus door panels. Sliding into the center, feet space will be shared, but leg and shoulder space is not going to be an issue, even though it's a little bit more sporty and you're pushed up more so, making headroom a little bit more compromised, but it's about the same as the Toyota. The back seats of the Camry, pretty good headroom as well as leg room, storage behind both of the front seats, USB ports, air vents, cup holders with an armrest, and the door is going to have soft materials and nowhere because everything is stripped, so all hard materials with a cup or beverage holder carved out, sliding over. The floor isn't flat. You're not going to want to put the seat back like this because then I'm not going to be able to fit with knee, butt, leg, or shoulder space. But headroom, it's doable, but you can see it's pushed downwards here opposed to the Lexus. 225 horsepower, that's up 17 horsepower over the prior gen hybrid. Give her a go. It gets up to speed fine. All-wheel drive is going to get you 232 horsepower, which is giving us 24 horsepower more. Doesn't sound like a lot, but you don't really need a lot of motivation to move this vehicle. And the idea that Toyota is doing is for gas consumption purposes. That's why it's all hybrid powertrain. No talks of a TRD or a V6 yet, which I would like to see a GR or a TRD. That's really the biggest con that I can see or problem with this particular vehicle. But going into some pros is you're getting a lot of amenities, so it's a great bang for your buck. The Camry is a great vehicle, but I still like the Lexus a little bit better because of the value that I'm getting per trim. Toyota has increased the price enough where I now look at Lexus because even the Crown is going to be more money than the Lexus, in which that's why the ES is such a great value when you're considering a Camry or the ES trim. You also get this with the Camry: standard dual climate control, push button start, wireless charging pad, LED on the exterior, over 15 cubic feet of storage, and Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, which includes a ton of safety features. Now, you're not going to receive the 12.3 gauge cluster or even the 12.3 infotainment screen, but in the same token, it looks sporty enough. It does its justice. You can see everything. It's still a fun vehicle to drive. And that's another point that I like about Toyota. Some cons is it's still somewhat tier base in order to unlock features like your upgraded sound system, like we were saying on the interior. You have to go up into the XLE or the XSE. Heads-up display is only going to be an option in the top tier, as well as a pano moonroof for the XLE and XSE and ventilated seats. It just makes it a little bit more expensive when you start having to option features plus make it tier base. And now for the Lexus ES350 F Sport handling package. 302 horsepower, 267 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 around 6.6 seconds. MPGs is nowhere near that variant, but you can see Toyotas are everywhere today. But you're not expecting to get that with the F Sport. You're expecting to get a style on the exterior, more features on the interior, plus the handling, because that's what this is known for. Lexus still keeps a butter smooth suspension, even though these are 19-inch wheels. You will feel a little bit more of the imperfections in this drive though, as well as a little bit more road noise than the standard 17-inch or even 18-inch wheel design. But it's still going to be more quiet than Toyota, even though they have made the new Camry a lot more quiet, a lot more comfortable. But we're gonna put it into Sport S Plus. Let's rock and roll. Heads-up display so I can see everything on demand. And even with the upgraded wheels and the upgraded suspension, it's still just as smooth as a regular ES. That's what I like so much about Lexus. Toyota did a great job with the 5th generation, don't get me wrong. But you are paying such a premium that it puts you in a base tier for an ES, which is why I would say maybe look at that if you're looking at the top spec, because you're going to get a better warranty, softer materials in the interior, softer drive, and you can still option features. Plus, I'm sure they'll work a deal for you because 2026, there's still talks about getting a full refresh for the ES, which will transform this car to look similar to the Camry, in which, like I was saying on the exterior, we may lose the V6 option. And sitting in the cockpit of the Lexus to the Toyota, it just feels a lot more solid, whether you go into the ES350, 250, or even the 300H. They still have such a strong feel to it. It just feels a little bit more light when I get into the Camry. And the cool thing about the S or the Sport S Plus mode is when you do it, the red line, it starts turning yellow and red, and it just makes it look so much more athletic for the price. I mean, you're talking just under $50,000, but optioning the XSE, which would be more comparable to this, especially with features, that's gonna be literally like $1,000 to $2,000 difference in price. So for me, all day, I would go into the Lexus because I'm getting that much more value. The reason why I'm comparing this against the SE trim is because the TRD Camry was on that trim level last year that we lost, which would have a similar design to this, plus that V6 naturally aspirated engine that we have in here. But that one was rated at 301 horsepower. So they were able to get 1 extra horsepower with the Lexus. F-Sport handling package gives us the dynamics that we need, but it doesn't take away from that butter smooth suspension layout. So I like that Lexus keeps true to the heritage there. It's not going to be perfect 50-50 weight distribution, so don't be taking corners crazy, and that's not what this car is meant for. But when you're thinking about MPGs, I mean, you're at 22 MPGs for the city, 31 MPGs for the highway with a combined of 25. It's actually not that bad for a sporty / luxury midsize sedan.